Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Saturday, the 22nd of December 2018, and I am so glad that you're joining me to talk about some knitting, some yarn, and everything related to that just before Christmas. It's been a tough week, you guys. I'm not going to lie. I worked until late last night. So I'm really only just getting into the Christmas spirits and like letting go of all the things that are not Christmas and holiday related. But we've made it, and I've spent the better part of this week thinking about a couple of things that I want to do and to mention today on the podcast. So I'm so glad that you're joining me today to talk about some knitting. And today we have a very full-packed schedule. I know that my recent episodes have already been quite long, for my taste anyways. They've been around 45 minutes. And today I feel like I have a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm going to start off with some knit-along winners and just general Ravelry things, followed by a blast from the past, so to say. Then I have a million whips, because apparently I just had to cast on all the things, which is always exciting. I love casting on things. I want to talk to you about some knitting stats and kind of discuss my knitting year of 2018 with you guys. I have some acquisitions, and then I think I'll just talk about life in general and do the sort of annual Christmas tradition talk that I love to do every year. So it's going to be a long one, unless my battery dies. Because you know that moment when you charge your phone overnight so you have a perfect battery to start the podcast in the morning. And then in the morning you look at your phone and it says, warning, warning, there's only 3% of battery left. And then you realize that your lovely boyfriend has unplugged the phone. So that might shorten the podcast significantly, but I think we should be okay. So let us jump in and talk about some knitting. Well, we have a group on Ravelry called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group, and that is where we've been hosting 2 knit-alongs. One of them is still running. It is the Happy Sweater Along, which is giving me so much joy. It's essentially a knit-along to cast on and knit and finish all the garments, all the sweaters, all the cardigans. You can basically do whatever you want. You can finish some old whips, you can cast on new things. You don't even have to finish if you just want to participate in the chatter thread. And that thread is just bringing me so much happiness. So please feel free to join in. We will be running it at least until the end of January, possibly longer. So just jump in, and I would really, really like that. Breathe. Sometimes I do this podcasting thing where I forget to breathe, and then I feel like I'm running a marathon while I'm talking to you, which is totally making life easier, isn't it? Next up, we had the Tea and Ice Cream Sock Knit-Along, which has now come to a close. Thank you so much to everyone who had participated and everyone who just generally bought the pattern. It is still amazing to see that you guys actually like to knit the things that I come up with. So that's a huge compliment, and I can't thank you enough. So we had the knit-along for that pattern. I drew a prize winner from the chatter thread and used a random number generator. And the winner that we drew was a number 19, and that is Nessa333. And congratulations, Nessa. It didn't say where you're from, but I'm a stalker, so I looked at your projects, which are really, really nice, by the way. And I noticed that you're using a lot of French yarn, so maybe you're in France, maybe not. Anyhow, please get in touch using Ravelry Messenger. So my name on Ravelry is Wipfi, which is Wuepfi. And please send me your full name and address, and I will send you your prize after Christmas. And the prize, just very quickly, in this beautiful box, which I hope doesn't say my address, no it doesn't, is a set of Adi Crazy trio sock needles, a beautiful skein of good old German sock yarn from Opal, as well as one skein of hand-dyed German glitter yarn, which I think that's the perfect sock knitting kit for you. You knit some beautiful purple, I think, knit pick socks, and they're just lovely. So I hope you enjoy this and you get in touch. So with that done, just a quick reminder, I don't do any show notes, but you can find all the information about my projects and yarns and so on in my project pages on Ravelry. So if you have a question, maybe look it up there first, and then if you don't find your answer in the project pages, then you, of course, feel free to get in touch. So, I don't have any FOs this week. Yes, I just cast on all the new things. I didn't finish anything. But this morning I went to put on some socks, and I got one of my favorite ever pairs of socks. And I just looked at them and I thought, they're so nice. I can't believe I'm still wearing them. So I thought they deserved a special place in the podcast just because I think they're really nice. And it seems that you guys always like it when I talk about past knitting projects. And I'm not sure if I've ever shown these on the podcast. Probably I have, but I'm not sure. So these are one of my favorite pairs of socks, and also one of my very oldest pairs of socks that I've knit. I knit these, I think, before I started podcasting. They have officially a kiss heel, so it means they're probably like 4 years old. And most of the socks that I knit from that time, I don't have anymore. And then there are some that I never wear, but these are actually socks that I wear all the time. The yarn is from Drachenwolle, who is a German indie dyer. I'm not sure if they still dye. I think they do. I don't really see their yarn around very much, but they're a really nice company. I really used to like their yarn. I still do. I think I have one skein in my stash somewhere. Anyways, so it's just a German sock yarn. It is indie dyed, as you can see. And I knit a pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks. In fact, I think this was my very first pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks, which is a pattern by Erika Lüde. And these socks, you guys, they are definitely worn. They're super soft and pilly and a little bit felted, but just in the right places. And oh my gosh, I love these socks so much. You can see they've held up relatively well, and my sisters kind of comment because I wear them every time I visit them at home. I'm not sure why that is, but I just wear them a lot. And I just love them so much. I'm not sure if you can tell the texture. It's all like fluffed up just from wear over time, but I think it is so beautiful. And I just thought about these this morning, and I thought about whether I like them more or if I would like them as much as I do if I had just done them vanilla, because this Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern, you don't really see it that much, but it just creates this texture with the pearls that makes it extra soft to wear, I think. So I absolutely love these. You can see they're kind of worn out. They have a 1x1 twisted rib at the top, which is quite stretched out by now. But I just wear these a ton, and I feel like I will probably wear these another 3 years and they will just be fine. So I just thought that's a nice blast from the past, and maybe you guys like it as well. It's nice because I always knit new socks, and I tend to be focused on the new things and then like the bright and shiny new trends, and sometimes it's really nice to find something that you've had for years and years and you still love it, and these bring me a lot of joy. So those are my Hermione's Everyday Socks from the past. Also, because I know some of you have not been following my podcast, maybe what I am wearing today is my Emma Yoke sweater, which is a pattern by Knit for Passion, who is Astrid Tüting. I finished this quite recently out of a Danish yarn, which is called Black Hill Wool. And I wear the sweater a lot. It is a top-down colorwork sweater, as you can see, and it's a relatively light yarn, and the yarn has developed a bit of a fuzzy halo, and it just makes it really comfortable to wear. I think this is super soft. Kai shakes his head and thinks this is a very scratchy yarn, so it really depends on your preferences, but I love this, and I've been wearing it a ton. So yeah, that's what I've been wearing and what I've been loving from my sock drawer. Now, because I haven't finished anything, let's just jump into some works in progress. But first, coffee. Oh, coffee is just so good. I love coffee. So where should I start? I cast on all the new things. Maybe because I was talking about Hermione's everyday socks. Let's start with the most recent thing that I cast on less than 12 hours ago. So I decided that, you guys, I've had a tough week. I've had a tough December, really. Not complaining, but yeah. So I decided I'm going to cast on some socks for myself. Originally, I was going to wait until Christmas Eve because I do want to do the Christmas Eve cast on. But I just needed a pick-me-up, and I decided I need to cast on with some special yarn because my feet deserve some cashmere socks. So I got this yarn from Amy of Stranded Dye Works out of my stash. It's been there for way too long, at least a year. This is in her Batcave colorway, which I will show you momentarily. It is the Paradise base, which is a merino, cashmere, and nylon base on, like I said, the Batcave colorway. And apparently it is a second because, I don't know, apparently there was something wrong with it. But I think it is beautiful and perfect, and I don't see what's wrong with it at all. So this is a yarn, and I just had to cast on a pair of socks for myself. And here we are. So I finished the rib this morning. It's just a plain 2x2 rib, and then I decided to do some Hermione's everyday socks. See where my mind was this morning? I've only done like 2 or 3 repeats, so it's going to be tough to show you. And honestly, I thought about ripping out the Hermione's everyday socks part just because it's a speckled yarn. It won't really show up. So I'm still kind of thinking whether I should rip back and do like a vanilla or a slightly ribbed sock. But the truth is that I really feel like doing my Hermione's everyday sock. Like, I have a lot of stockinette knitting to do anyways, and that's going to be good for Christmas, but I know that I'm going to be wanting to do something just a smidge more complicated than just stockinette. So I think I may just keep going because I just waffled on about how much I love Hermione's everyday socks anyways. So I'm not quite decided, but I'm so happy to be knitting with this yarn. It's one of those yarns that kind of felt too special to use for quite a while, and I don't know why I do that to myself because it is meant to be knit, and this was always going to be socks. So I'm very, very happy to be knitting it. I only have 2 pairs of socks knit out of a merino, cashmere, and nylon blend. One is in the Wilka base by Woolenvine, and honestly they haven't held up very well at all, which is just a matter of cashmere. Like, I'm not blaming anyone. That's just the way it is. I also have a second pair from that was dyed by my lovely friend who is Knitty Hazelnut on Instagram, and that was more of a high twist merino cashmere nylon, and I love those socks. They're the most luxurious thing to put on my feet, and those are not falling apart. So we'll see how this goes, and not sure if I should hope for it going really well because that will just mean that I spend a ton more money on yarn that I don't need, but we'll see. So that's my most recent cast on, 64 stitches as usual on my US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles. These are some Knit Pro, no they're not, they're ChiaoGoo red lace, which I love, and they are working perfectly with this yarn. So that is my first cast on. It doesn't even have a bag yet, but we will rectify that very soon. Next up, let's stay on the topic of socks. Remember how last week I said that Kai wasn't getting any socks for Christmas? I'm such a sucker. I totally felt bad for it, and I ended up casting on some socks for him. I know. But the yarn was lying around. I was in the mood to cast something on. And the advantage was that this yarn, I knew he wanted this to be socks, and I didn't have to cake anything up. So that just made the decision for me. So I have cast on and finished the first sock, and I am just past the heel on the second sock. So I'm very proud of myself. I knew that I was going to have to knit these very quickly if I wanted them to be finished by Christmas. which sadly is also celebrated on the 24th here in Germany, so that gives me 1 day less to finish them. The most difficult thing really is the fact that we obviously spend a lot of time together now that it's Christmas and we're both off work. So that just limits the time that I can work on these, but I've been working on them a lot actually while working, while in phone conferences and stuff. Like I just have my socks right here next to me. And then when I'm on the phone, when I'm on a Skype conference that doesn't have video, I'm knitting. So anyways, these I knit on 2.5 millimeter or US 1.5 needles. Firstly, because they go quicker and speed was definitely important on these ones, and also because Kai likes a slightly thinner gauge sock because he has very warm feet. So I did them over 64 stitches. I did a relatively short leg, which he loves. He wants short legs on his socks. And this is yarn. This is Schoppel Zauberball, which is a merino, I think, nylon blend. So it does have nylon, and it is the plied version. They also have one that isn't plied, which in my opinion kind of tends to fall apart. So this is definitely a bit stronger, but it still isn't a super strong yarn, I think. I'm not expecting these socks to last forever, so I decided to at least put in a different heel to, first of all, not break up the sort of gradient that you get from the yarn, and secondly, just to make them a little bit more durable. So I put in some Regia, I think, leftovers for a fish lips kiss heel, which I did in garter stitch. And yeah, I really like how they came out. I originally wanted to do some neon heels, like I thought that was really fun with the black and white yarn. But I didn't find the perfect mini to do that. I just didn't find the right yarn. So I went with this, and I think they're quite subtle. He can wear them to work, and he will really like them. So the first one is done, like I said. The second one, I have just done the heel. And now I just need to knit down the foot, and I'm hoping I might finish that today. I always, when casting these on, I always thought, oh well, if I don't finish them, I will just wrap one sock, and like he will get the other one after. It doesn't matter. But now I'm so close, I kind of want to prove it to myself that I can finish these. And I'm going out for coffee with my friend today, so I need to work on these. Marion, make me work on these and not just chat to you, because then life as we know it will come to an end. So yeah, those are my boyfriend's Christmas socks. Like I said, the yarn is Zauberball, and the colorway is Domino, which is number 2100. So that's another sock that I've cast on, and you may actually not see again, because I hope that next time we talk, these will be on Kai's feet. Living in a Christmas bag. Next up, actually living in a new acquisition, another Christmas bag that I had to get. This is a bag from Gibby Rousseau's. I'm just looking, I had a card from her somewhere. Somewhere being the operative word. I mentioned Gibby Rousseau's before. She's a UK-based bag maker. And she came up with this Christmas collection. I think she had like a silver, a gold, and a red glitter fabric with these drawstring bags, which these are amazing in terms of size. And they have little bells, which is adorable. I'm going to use this all year round. I love this bag. And I will try to show you her logo at least. So she's on Etsy. Oh, that is working beautifully, not. There you go. And in here is another new cast-on, because apparently this is the new cast-on show now. And you guys, I had I had 2 sweaters on my needles, so obviously I had to cast on a third one, right? So I cast this on for the Blame Dunder Knit Along that Caroline is hosting of the Knitting Vicariously podcast. And the idea is to knit something that you've really, really wanted to knit with yarn that you've been craving and the pattern that you've been craving. That's the sort of idea. And everything came together because, first of all, this yarn, I bought this in France at La Droguerie in Nice in July. And this is a really luxurious yarn. I'll talk about it more in a second. I originally bought this to knit the Like a Cloud cardigan by Joji Locatelli, but never got around to it. And the pattern is the No Frills sweater that I also bought quite a while ago. And I have been wanting to make it, but I never had the right yarn, and I always wanted to get myself like a matching set of yarn with a mohair lace. But that's really expensive, and I just never got around to it either. And then I realized I have the perfect yarn in stash, because this is kind of giving the same effect as holding a normal yarn and a mohair strand held together, because this is a yarn that is made out of 10% Angora, 15% soy, 18% mohair, 23% wool, and 34% bamboo. Sorry, I'm reading from a French card, and somehow translating from German to French to English doesn't compute. But this is, I think, about a sport weight yarn, and you can see the halo, I think, and it's perfect. So I decided to swatch, and guess what? I got a perfect gauge, and that never happens. So yeah, very, very, very excited about this. This is the sort of card you get with the yarn. I'm not sure if you can buy it online. I think it may just be like an in-store thing, but then I don't really get French yarn that well, so who knows. Anyways, that's the yarn that I'm using. And I cast on the No Frills sweater, which, if you don't know, is a pattern by Petite Knits. It is a very, very simple top-down sweater. And yeah, that is where we are. So I cast on the smallest size because there's quite a lot of like oversized positive ease. That is a word I'm looking for. There's quite a lot of positive ease, and so I cast on. To be honest, I think for such a simple pattern, it is not super clear. If you've knit a couple of sweaters before, it's absolutely fine, but if this is your first sweater, I think the way that they describe the setup for the raglan increases is not super clear. It's fine, the pattern is fine, I'm just saying, and a couple of people commented on that as well, and I kind of stumbled across that because I feel like I've knit quite a lot of sweaters, and to kind of be a little bit confused with a simple pattern like this kind of surprised me, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's a super simple pattern besides that. So what I've done is I've done the raglan increases, and then I have split for the sleeves. I split for the sleeves a little bit earlier because the sleeves on this pattern are very wide, and I didn't want super oversized bunched up sleeves, and I wanted to possibly cinch in the body a little bit as well. So I've made it a little bit more fitted, but I'm not doing any shaping for the body now. So I think it's still going to have a bit of a boxy, flowy fit, and this yarn is just so drapey, you guys. I'm just going to give you a close-up. It's got a halo. It's just beautiful, and you can see like every stitch is just, it's just a beautiful garment, and you can definitely see the different fibers in here, and it's got a bit of a shine to it, and I really love it. And like this color. Can we just talk about this color? I'm going to wear this thing to death. I'm going to never take this sweater off again because it's just that amazing. So I'm very excited about it. I have no idea how much yarn I have. I think I have either like 350 grams or 300 grams. I think it's 350. So it should be enough considering this is quite a large gauge. But I'm going to knit the body first, and then I think I may do like only 3/4 length sleeves anyways. So yes, very excited about this. I'm also very excited to see how this will wear because it is a new to me sort of yarn blend. I hope that it's not going to be one of those sweaters where you get really hot, but I doubt it. With the bamboo and stuff in it, it shouldn't be too warm and too heavy, I think. We will see, but I'm just in love with this. It is so soft, I wish you could touch it. I think this is very close to what you would get by holding a merino and a mohair held double. So yeah, very excited about this. And I'm also very excited about the fact that I'm using both a stash yarn and essentially a stash pattern that I've had in my library for a while. And it just came together perfectly. And pink needles, because obviously, yeah, I'm using 3.5mm needles, by the way. We'll clean up the mess later. Next up, only 2 more projects to go. Actually, there's 3, but I'm not showing you my sweater this week because I've worked on it a little bit, but not enough to show you really. I've just done a bit of stockinette in the round because guess what? I have 3 sweaters and all 3 of them are exactly at the same place. So that's a lot of knitting, a lot of stockinette to do. But talking about sweaters, in here is my 3rd sweater, which is of course another sweater knit out of a huge cone of yarn because apparently that's what I do these days. And this, you guys, this is a beast. Let's take the needles out. This is of course my Isbre sweater, which is a design by Ellie of Scandia. It is in the recent Blooded Garn issue, and I'm knitting it out of this beautiful yarn, which is Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight in the colorway 9113. Last week I showed this to you. I was working on the body and I said maybe I'll do a sleeve just to be knitting something else than 3 body islands. And you guys, look, this is going to be hard to show because this sweater is so huge. It is such a beast. But here it is, somewhat tangled. And look, there's 1 sleeve. And there are 2 sleeves. So I actually did what I said, which, when does that ever happen? And I finished both sleeves. I'm so excited about that. I'm very proud of myself, if I may say so. So I finished both sleeves, and they are very long sleeves too. I always knit my sleeves too short. And this is a really oversized sweater, so I thought this needs really long sleeves. And I was kind of inspired by Caroline once again of Vicariously, Vicarious Knitting Podcast, I think that's it, who always makes really long sleeves that go kind of up to here. And that's really nice. So I did the same thing, and I mean, this is a huge sweater. I'm kind of worried that it's too oversized. I hope that it's going to be nice oversized and not tent oversized. But I mean, we will see about that. But the sleeves are done, and now I'm just working on the body once again. I'm also not sure how long I want to make the body. I think I will try it on when it's relatively cropped, just to see how the tent effect is going. Because sometimes it is like, it's fine to have a really wide sweater, but if it's wide and also very long, that is when you reach tent sizes. So not quite sure yet, but I'm very happy to have the sleeves done. So it feels like now I can just knit a lot of stockinette in the round, and then I'm done with it, really. So this is definitely going to be one of my Christmas sweaters that I'm taking with me on our Christmas trip. We're essentially doing 3 Christmas trips. We're doing 2 family trips, then going back here, and then I can take more yarn, replenish yarn, and pack new projects essentially. But for the first leg of our trip, which is going to be 5 or 6 days of just family trip, I think I'm going to take 2 pairs of socks and 2 sweaters because who knows, I may run out of yarn to knit. And this is going to be one of them because it is just plain knitting in the round, which will be perfect for family time when I'm sick of knitting socks. So yeah, that is my Isbre sweater, and I feel like yarn is everywhere, my hair is everywhere. Yeah. I love the sweater. I think I'm going to wear it a ton. I'm looking forward to having it done too though, because I feel like it is a very, very large project. Whereas I knit a sweater out of the same yarn before, the Threepmuir, and that felt much less beastly and much more like a light sweater, so that's really interesting. Alright, the last thing that I want to show you in terms of my knits is of course my Northeasterly blanket, a pattern by Skein Nanigans, which I talked about plenty in the past, so I'm not going to go into detail there. If you want to know how I join my rows, please check out my Ravelry page, which is where I have written it out in detail, so check that out if you're interested. Sorry about the clanging needles. Essentially what I've done is I think last time I talked to you I already had 4 columns, and what I have done now is I have started to add lengthwise. So I picked up again and I added length to the first 2 columns. By the way, this is the yarn that I showed you last week from Melanie of Braid and Tinker. I said that I was going to put it into my blanket, and there it is. And now I've just picked up my 3rd column again, and I think I couldn't decide on what color to do next, which is why it's kind of lingering there. But it is starting to look like a blanket, so very happy about that as well. I'm using 2.25mm needles and sock yarn for this. So yeah, I'm not going to show this to you all the time, but I think it's still a very fun project to show off, especially because it's such a new blanket. So I mean, everyone is knitting it now, but it's not like the Cozy Memories where you've already seen a ton of them already. So yeah, and it still fits into its tiny bag, but not much longer. So with that, I think I'm done with whips for today. Should we do knitting stats or acquisitions first? Let's do knitting stats. So I've actually prepared for this, you guys. Can you believe it? I've like made notes and everything. And yes, it is on the back of my H&M coupon code, which I'll never use. So when I think about what my knitting year of 2018 has been, I think you guys will not be surprised that it has been the year of colorwork sweaters. It's really funny how it turns out to be a thing. Like 2017 was my year of brioche. Like, I learned brioche and I did a lot of brioching, and it's like this one technique that just made my heart sing, and I felt like I improved so much as a knitter. And I remember saying pretty much a year ago to my friend Marion, like, colorwork just doesn't really appeal to me. And then pretty much around New Year's, I knit my first ever colorwork garment, which was my Sunset Highway sweater. And you know how it went from there. I became a huge colorwork knitter, and I completely changed my mind about it. And oh my gosh, like, there's nothing in the knitting world that makes me as happy as colorwork does. And what's really interesting about it is the fact that not only have my preferences really changed in terms of I'm a garment knitter now. Like, I used to knit like 2 garments a year. This year I have 17 finished garments and 3 more I'm working on. It also changed my perspective on what I buy. So I used to buy single skeins of sock yarn all the time because I loved sock knitting, and now I'm into like the woolly rustic yarns. Like, just looking at a couple of swatches that I have here, I'm sitting on my desk because who doesn't have swatches sitting on their desk? I've started getting into yarns like Jamieson and Smith, which is this one. And I think this is a Danish yarn. This is Black Hill Wool, which I'm wearing. I knit a ton out of Hall Super Soft. Like, these are all really rustic, more like traditional yarns. Like, they're not indie dyed, they're not super wash, and they can be scratchy if you think yarn can be scratchy. And it just changed my perspective. So I went from buying single skeins of sock yarn to buying sweater quantities of much cheaper yarn, though, of like sheepy wool, yarn that smells like the sheep. And my stash has kind of exploded as a as a consequence of that. I also went to Norway with my friend Marion, which was amazing. And I think, again, that was very much influenced by the fact that we were both so much into color work. We basically do everything that Ellie of Scandia does. And like, we went there to do a huge yarn haul, and we bought all this yarn that is meant for color work. So I just thought that was so interesting. And every year I think I'm just going to do the same thing next year, and then something new pops along. So I don't know. Maybe 2019 will be the year of double knitting, or I don't know. But I just thought that was so interesting. So whereas I think last year I had, I did my stats from last year as well, and I had done like something like 2 or 3 garments. this year I have finished 17 sweaters. And I have 3 more on the needles, so theoretically I could finish 20 sweaters in 2018. I am probably not going to because I'm casting on all the new things, but still, like, that is insane. And I didn't really realize that until I looked at my Ravelry page yesterday. I also finished 3 shawls, which, again, that's not very much. I used to knit a lot more shawls in the past. And what really surprised me is because I knit so many garments, I thought that my sock knitting was definitely, not very present this year, and I didn't finish many socks. But I actually finished 45 pairs of socks, and I have 2 works in progress. So I don't really know how that happened. I think my goal was I think I had 50 pairs last year, and my goal was to knit 60 this year, but then obviously I abandoned that goal by knitting all the sweaters. So how I still ended up with 45 pairs, I'm not really quite sure. I think my knitting sped up a lot, and this was definitely by far the most stressful work year. So I did a lot of sock stress knitting. I also finished 4 pairs of mittens. By the way, I ripped out my Christmas mittens. Thank you to everyone who encouraged me to rip them out, rip those suckers and knit them another time. That made me so happy. Thank you so much for everyone's input. And that also made it easier because with them I would have been up to 5 pairs of mittens, which would have tempted me to try to knit 6 for the year of mittens that Ellie was hosting. But this way I'm back down to 4 pairs of mittens, which I think is a very, very good start anyways. I also knit 4 hats. And what I also counted is how many colorwork projects I did. And I did 17 colorwork projects plus 1 that I'm still working on. So again, very much a theme of this year. And yeah, I'm very happy with those stats. There is a feature in Ravelry that lets you kind of put a goal of how many projects you want to be finishing in the year of 2018. And in the beginning of the year, I just set that to 100 because I thought, think big. I didn't make that. I think I'm up to like 78 projects, so too far away from realistically finishing the leftover projects, but that doesn't matter. I think I'm going to aim for another 100 projects for next year, and we'll just see how it goes. And in the end, it is not about the numbers anyways. Like, it's supposed to be fun. But I just thought that was interesting, so feel free to share your knitting stats with me. What has your year been about? Like, I think the whole knitting world has kind of been about the color work. I'm not the only one there for sure. But yeah, I just thought that's really interesting, and just to see how our preferences change, how maybe even the community as a whole, their knitting preferences, I think, changes over time with trends and just seeing other people do different things. And I just think that is very, very interesting. So that is it in terms of my project stats. Next up, we have a tiny bit of, tiny, it's not tiny really. We have some acquisitions, which are essentially my Christmas presents that I gave to myself. And I'm sorry, I'm always playing with my hair, but you know when your hair gets really like, it just sticks to everything because you've touched something that's made it just go all over the place. Not about my hair, let's talk about some yarn. I mentioned that I got myself some yarn for Christmas because what if I don't get enough yarn for Christmas? What if I don't have enough yarn in my stash? Like, the world as we know it would come to an end. So there is this one yarn that I've really, really, really wanted, and I've been basically stalking Sabrina's shop, who is Das Mondschaf, for the better part of December. And I just jumped the gun and treated myself to a sweater's quantity of yarn. And the colorway that I chose is her Christmas colorway this year, which is called a Die Hard, because apparently that is a movie that lots of people watch for Christmas. I don't. Kai does. But anyways, apparently it's a bit of a tradition. Will you look at this yarn? Like, isn't this amazing? So this is their Christmas colorway. I think they only have it until the end of the year, or possibly even until Christmas. I'm not quite sure. It's called Die Hard, and they had it on their singles base and their sock yarn base, which is the base that I chose. This is Pegasus. It is a 75% merino, 25% nylon. I think It says 70% wool, 25% polyamide, but that doesn't make any sense because there's 100% of something in here. And yeah, I love it. I love it so much. Just looking at it now, it's such a beautiful colorway. I originally was going to get this for Kai to knit him a pair of socks because thigh-high socks are totally his thing. But it has a tiny bit of like a mauve shade to it, almost pink, which I love, but I know that he wouldn't have worn it anyways. But I bought it for me instead. So I got 3 skeins of this yarn. And I'm going to make some kind of really beautiful hand knit fingering weight sweater out of it. And yeah, this was just a treat to myself and I have no regrets. So that is one thing that I got from Sabrina. And then there is this other colorway of hers. I kind of also wanted a sweater's quantity. Like seriously, guys. I wanted it so bad, but can't go too crazy, can you? So what I did is I got myself a 1 skein of that colorway, which is called Butterfly Effect. And this is also on her Pegasus base, so this may become a pair of socks, this may become a shawl. I'm thinking about actually making a socket hat or something out of it as well. I just thought it's got all the fun, pretty colors, and I like the light blue base. And maybe one day I will get a sweater's quantity of this as well, who knows. So I treated myself and I'm very, very happy about it. And yeah, that is my no, that isn't. I was going to say that's my last acquisition for this year. But I'm such a bloody liar. Like, who are we kidding? Anyways, that is my acquisition for this week. And yeah, so that basically marks the end of my knitty content for this week. So all that's really left to talk about is kind of what's been happening, what we're doing for Christmas. So if you don't want to stick around for that, that is totally fine. So if you're leaving us now, have a wonderful Christmas period with your family and friends if you celebrate. And I will see you very soon. I don't know when, to be honest. It could be next week, it could be in 2 weeks, it could actually be in 3 weeks. Most realistically, I think I'm not going to do another podcast, but I will do some kind of vlogs over the New Year's period. So I'll see you whenever I see you. Thank you so much for watching. If you do want to stick around, let's just waffle on. So like I said, we had the last week of work before Christmas, and December has just been super stressful. Like nothing bad has happened, but I don't think I've ever had such a long and stressful and long hour period of work before Christmas. It was really intense. And it's a little bit sad because I was so ready to do all the Christmassy things, but then a lot of things I missed because I was just really tired and didn't have time, and everything was a little bit more rushed than I would have wanted it to be. But such is life. We made it, we came out on the other side, and now I have 2 weeks off. I haven't had 2 weeks off since last Christmas. So I am beyond excited about that. I'm also very much ready for it. I have a lot of leftover holiday days that I'm going to be taking next year. So I am just finally and slowly starting to realize that like work is done. Like it's all finished. And for me personally, I don't know about you guys, but Christmas is similar to like summer holidays back when you were at school, because it is the one time in the year that not only you slow down, but everyone kind of slows down. So if you go on holiday in summer, you essentially always spend a week in advance working twice as much to prepare for going away, and then when you get back, you have twice as much work to catch up on because no one else stopped. Whereas that's why I really love Christmas, because everything just slows down and all other businesses close their doors too. So I just love it. I just love it. I'm a big Christmas sucker as well. So yes, very, very happy about that. So today is Saturday. Plan for today is podcasting. Check. I'm going to meet a friend of mine later, which I'm so excited about. After that, I have a date with Kai to wrap all the presents, which is going to be interesting because I've totally lost track of all the presents. But I'm telling myself it's not about the gifts. It's about, spending time together. So it will be fine. Let's hope it will be fine. So we're just going to have a very chill night. Going to get some pizza tonight. And then tomorrow, which is Saturday, I think I want to kind of clean the house a little bit, do some knitting, and then we will drive up to my parents' place. So that's where the whole Christmas traditions really start. So what we always do, or we have done the past 4 years as well, is that we spend the first part of Christmas at my family's place. So traditionally on the 23rd, all of my hometown, they all go to the Christmas market, which is a really, really nice one, and it's very famous. So during the year, it is run over with, during the rest of the Christmas season, I should say, it is run over with tourists. And on the 23rd, all the locals go, and it's always such fun. So that's why we're going up on the 23rd, because I love that sort of tradition. And that's when it really sinks in for me that, like, it's really Christmas. And I'm such a small child, right? I love Christmas. We're planning to have a little party with my sister and her sisters and their boyfriends. So I think that's going to be really interesting. My mom is so worried that on Christmas Eve we're going to be hungover. We'll be fine, I think. And then on the 24th, Christmas Eve, that is when we in Germany, we have the biggest sort of Christmas celebration. So when we talk about Christmas here in Germany, it's not the 25th, but it is the 24th that we're talking about. So what we do is we celebrate at night. So part of my family will go to church, and then we all meet up at my parents' place in the night together with my grandparents. And we actually do a really traditional Christmas. So we play Christmas songs. Yes, because I come from a family where we do a lot of music. My mom is a music teacher. I used to play like 5 instruments when I was a child. My sisters are the same, so we play music and then we get to unwrap the presents, which I'm not that excited about my own presents, but I love giving my presents to other people. So that's going to be really, really nice. And then we just have Christmas dinner, and traditionally we'll then sit on the couch with the Christmas tree lit and listen to Christmas music and stuff our faces with Christmas biscuits. And my mom will make the famous family punch, which is essentially like a mulled wine, except it is 10 times as strong, and it will knock you off your feet. To this day, I grew up in this family, but I don't know how they drink that stuff. It is intense. But anyways, it makes the house smell really good. And it is part of the whole Christmas tradition. And then on the 25th, we will have the traditional Christmas goose at my grandparents' place, and then we will go sit in our car and race up to Hanover, which is much further north in Germany, and spend some time with Kai's family, which will essentially entail more food, more family time, and more booze. So it's after that you're mostly just feeling really fat and lazy. But I'm so excited about it. Kai's sister and her husband are coming down from England with their daughter, our little niece, who is adorable, and I don't see her as often as I would like. So I think that's going to be really nice. And then I think on, I don't know, Friday, possibly, we will drive back down to Munich, repack. I will basically pack all of my stash, and then we will start part 2 of our Christmas holiday, which will mean going down to Allgäu near the Alps, which I've talked about a million times. And I'm really excited about that as well, because all I'm planning to do is spend a week there in front of the fireplace and knit. So that's going to be the more relaxing part of the holiday, and I cannot wait. One important tradition that I forgot to mention, that's a tradition that we kind of, my sisters and me, started a couple of years back, essentially since I've become a knitter with a capital K, is the fact that on the day before Christmas, when we go to the Christmas markets in my hometown, there's actually a stand that sells yarn, which is really, really nice. So they sell a lot of like commercial sock yarn, like Regia and Opal and all that. So what we've done in the past couple of years is that we will also always go there, and my sisters will pick yarn that they will like. And instead of stress knitting them Christmas gifts, which I have done this year, but they don't know that, they will both pick a skein of yarn, and then I will just knit them a pair of socks after Christmas. And they usually really, really like that. So yeah, that's it in terms of my Christmas traditions. We're not very religious. I just like the festivities and the family and community aspect that comes with Christmas. And yeah, it's going to be really great to just let go of like everyday work stress and spend some time with family and friends and Kai, of course. And yeah, so that's what we're doing for Christmas. What else can I tell you? Oh yeah, we registered for our wedding license, I suppose, or applied for a wedding license last week, because you're obviously in a really stressful week just before Christmas. What you really, really need to do is go to the city hall and sit there with 20 other couples who are there for exactly the same thing as you and wait for over an hour to get your marriage license. But we got it done. Late, but we did get it done, and that means that we're just one step closer to actually getting married in March, which is so freaking close, you guys. Like, it is just 3 months now, and I can't even. But yeah, that is it. That is stress for another day. I have a feeling that once Christmas is all done and dusted, the time until our wedding will go very fast. But yeah, we'll worry about that another day. The most important thing is that our honeymoon is all booked and paid for. So no matter what happens, we will end up getting married, and we will be away and be married and have a honeymoon, and everything else will sort itself out. I'm refusing to stress out about it. My bridesmaid, my best friend, she is stressing out and just like worrying about like, all these tiny things. Like, what are we going to put on the tables? And do we need something to place the rings on? And all these tiny things. And I'm just kind of like, well, it'll be fine. It'll be like, we've got everything sorted out in terms of the big things. And we will end up having a good time and having a good wedding, no matter if we place white or cream or whatever on our tables. Like, it doesn't really matter that much. I may regret those words later, but anyways, that's where we are on the wedding planning, because you totally wanted to know that, didn't you? So I have a feeling I'm just rambling on, so I think I'm going to stop here. I thought about, like I said, when I would podcast next, and I honestly don't know. I'm not putting on the pressure of necessarily doing a proper podcast between now and the new year, because I did that last year and that was really, really stressful. We came back from our first trip, spent 2 hours at home, of which I spent 1.5 recording a podcast, and then jumped back in the car, and I don't want to repeat that. That was not very, very relaxed at all. So I think, like I said, I'm going to try to do some vlogging. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if I find the record button on my phone, but I apparently found it today, so chances are very good. So I will just see you when I see you. If you do want to follow me on what I'm doing, please check out Instagram, because I tend to be quite active there, and I've been doing a lot of stories. Admittedly, very bad stories, very real life stories, but that is what you get. So if you want to follow me there and get in touch through Instagram, you can just find me as The Happy Knitting Podcast, and I will surely be posting lots of photos of Christmas things, of hopefully some snow in the Alps, and what I'm doing. So who knows, maybe I'll even do like a live video. I'm not sure. Would you guys be interested in that? Like a Instagram live thing? I'm so scared because I don't know what to talk about. And what if no one shows up? But then again, I talk about nothing by myself right now for an hour, and I don't seem to mind. So let me know if you'd be interested, and maybe we can do something like that. How about that? So that is it definitely for me for now. So thank you so much for watching, you guys. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much for those of you who followed me for the better part of this year. I hope that you have such a nice time with your families if you celebrate whatever you celebrate. Merry Christmas from all of my heart. Have so much fun with your knitting. I hope you have some yarny presents under your tree, or maybe you got yourself some yarny presents like I did, because yeah, the yarn is there. Have a great time, and if I don't see you until the new year, Happy New Year, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye!